If you're looking to buy a house, you may already know how tough this market can be. Today, we're going to discuss 7 tips to submit a strong offer. So don't go anywhere because we're getting started right now. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Angie Shape with Keller Williams Realty and the Sold by Shape team. Now today we're going to be discussing 7 tips to submit a strong offer when buying a house. And if you're already working with a realtor, then congratulations, you're already on a great step. You've got a great advantage. And honestly, they may be using these techniques already. If you hear something new, please feel free to have a discussion with your agent and see if these might be some tips that would be a strong strategy for you as a buyer. So let's get started. Tip number 1, show that you can afford to buy the home. So this is an easy step. It simply requires getting in touch with your lender. If you don't already have one, your realtor can get 2 or 3 names for you to reach out to, have a conversation with, see who you work with best. And also while you're speaking to them, ask them how quickly they can close, compare the closing costs, and make sure that they have a good success rate of getting the loans closed on time at the closing table. Also, while you're having your conversation, it's roughly maybe a 15 or 20-minute conversation where you will discuss your financial situation. From that, the lender will be able to evaluate and determine, 1, what price home you can afford, and 2, get that pre-approval letter to you and your realtor. Very important when you're submitting an offer to submit it with the pre-approval letter, okay? And you might also talk to the lender about going ahead and getting you through part of the underwriting process. If those underwriters take a look at your situation and say, hey, they're golden, then you're good, and that strengthens your appeal to the listing agent. So tip number 1, show that you can afford to buy the home. Tip number 2, earnest money. So what is earnest money anyway? Earnest money is the amount that you are going to put down within 2 to 5 days of going binding in your contract. And it goes towards your purchase of the home, okay? So let's just say in typical times, if you bought a $100,000 house, 1% earnest money would be totally normal. So you put $1,000 into the earnest money, and that kind of sits there and it's on hold in a trust. And if for some reason you as the buyer were to default on the contract, then the seller is able to retain that earnest money kind of as a payment for the inconvenience for you breaching contract, right? Well, in the market that we're in right now, 1% is not necessarily going to get it done. You can show strength as a buyer if you were able to put more down. So if you have a loan where you are going to be putting down a 3.5% down payment, perhaps you consider doing all or most of that 3.5% with your earnest money. Go ahead and put it down. That shows the seller, hey, this person is serious about buying my home, and they have a lot of skin in the game, because if for some reason this person decides to walk away from the contract or is in breach of the contract, then they're out all of that money. So don't do it if you're not serious about buying the home, for one thing. But also, you know, if you're serious, it's a strong offer. So number 2, earnest money. Think about it. Tip 3, get that listing agent on the phone. Have a conversation with them. You will find out a lot. And when I say you, if you're doing this on your own or have your realtor do it, they probably do that anyway. It's a great way to start developing that camaraderie, to let that listing agent know who you are and how you work, and develop a little kinship there. So in having conversation with that listing agent, you're going to want to find out what is important to their client. I mean, obviously they want to net as much as they can out of the sale of their home, but there are other factors as well. Maybe they need, maybe they've already got a home that they've closed on and they need to be done with this as soon as possible. So a quick closing can give you an upper hand. There are lenders out there that can close as quickly as 8 business days. So, have those conversations. You may also find that the seller needs some temporary occupancy. Maybe they don't know where they're going, or they know, but they're not going to be able to close for 45 days. So in that situation, discuss with the realtor, is it better for your client if we go ahead and close quickly and provide a temporary occupancy to the date that they need, or maybe they want to wait 30 days to close and have a shorter temporary occupancy. There's lots of options, but you won't know those specific needs unless you actually pick up the phone and have that conversation. Tip number 4, contingencies. So you're going to need to have short to little to none in the contingency departments. What contingencies are there? So some people need to have a contingency to sell their home prior to making a purchase. I will tell you that in the current market, as it stands right now, this is not a desirable thing for the seller. So it's really not getting a lot of traction. You'll want to have conversations with your lender to see if you have the option of purchasing before you sell. If so, that's going to strengthen your offer. Talk about ways that you can make it happen. Think outside the box. You would also have a finance contingency. You're going to want to make that as small as possible. So again, that's a conversation you have with your lender. What's the necessary length of a finance contingency that you need to get through that loan process to make sure that all the boxes are checked and you're good to go. They may know that already, and you may only need a short period of time. So have that conversation, have your agent have that conversation with your lender, and that can be a great benefit as well. Then there's also an appraisal contingency, and this is a big one right now. With the different loans that are out there, you might not be able to waive the contingency, but you can certainly do an appraisal gap. And so what this means is that if for some reason the appraisal comes in below what you're offering as the sales price, that you as the buyer agree to bring that cash to the table. So the difference between what it appraises for and what you are buying the home for, that you will meet that gap. So that is definitely another consideration. And we're seeing in this market houses that are selling, well above the list price. We're talking $20,000 plus. I've seen some $60,000. It's an interesting market for sure, and so take that into consideration. You may not be willing to meet the full appraisal gap. That's okay. Think about what you would be willing to meet and maybe put that in the offer. Discuss these things with your realtor and see what you feel comfortable with and what they would recommend for you as well. So that was tip number 4 with the contingencies. Tip number 5, inspections. Keep it short. So before this market, a 7 to 10 day due diligence period was perfectly acceptable. Today, not so much. So you're going to want to have as short a due diligence period as you think you can manage. So a great tip for this special situation is to have your agent reach out to the home inspector. You may have one that you prefer to work with. If not, your agent can give you the names of 2 or 3 different inspectors. Have that conversation, let them know you're submitting an offer, see if they can put you on hold, hold a spot for you for the first day, maybe the second day of the due diligence period, so that you can get out there, find any issues. If you need to do an amendment to address concerns, you can tackle that as quickly as possible. It's super important time is of the essence. Another option during this inspection period is, instead of doing due diligence, talk to your agent about the possibility of doing a right to inspect. This changes some of the terms of what's happening. For example, you cannot ask for repairs on things that are already disclosed on the seller's property disclosure. But you can ask for repairs on things that are not in working condition, things that are in disrepair and just not working right. Maybe it's that there is a leak in the roof or a leak under the kitchen sink. Those kinds of things you can ask to be repaired. You cannot necessarily ask for them to be replaced if the seller can have it repaired. So consider the right to inspect versus due diligence. That may be something that we go a little further into conversation about on another day. But keep that inspection period short. That's the important part of this tip. Tip number 6, make a personal connection. So as you're walking through the home, you may find things that you absolutely love. You may see a picture and realize that the seller went to the same college that you did, or maybe that y'all attend the same church, or I don't know. There could be anything, right? Connections happen in all kinds of different ways. In this market, putting together a letter to the seller can set you apart from all the other buyers. Now, I would highly suggest that you have a conversation with your realtor about that, and they can guide you through that process. But making a connection with a seller is another way that you can strengthen your offer. Saving the best for last, number 7 is make your first offer the very strongest offer you can make. Here's why that is important. We're seeing multiple offers across the board in all different kinds of price points. I've seen homes that have had offers, we're talking 20s, 30s, 40s, and more, right? And so at that point, the realtor is creating a spreadsheet. She's the listing agent creating a spreadsheet. She's putting all the points in there, what the sales price, the closing costs, all of the little things. And they're taking a look at it side by side. So in that situation, do you think that the seller is going to try to counteroffer your offer? It's probably not going to happen. In fact, I can probably say with certainty that it's not going to happen. Not if they have another 5 or 6 offers that they can go to and just sign the contract and be done. So don't miss out. Go ahead and think through everything as you're putting your offer together and make that first offer your very strongest offer. So I have a bonus tip for you, and I can't even believe that I almost forgot it because it is huge and I use it all the time. It is the escalation clause. Now what this says is that you as a buyer are willing to up your offer price in an increment of whatever you choose. So let's say you are purchasing a home that's priced at $200,000 and you want to make your offer price $200,000, but you're willing to go up to $210,000. So you would put in the offer that you're willing to go up in increments of $1,000 up to the $210,000. Now you can also ask and require that that listing agent shows proof of having had to enact that escalation clause. So in essence, if another buyer has put an offer in at $205,000 and you have that escalation in place, then that means your offer then becomes $206,000. It's a great strategy. It's used quite a bit, and it might just get you that house. Okay, that was it. 7 tips for making a strong offer in today's market. I hope you found it very helpful and useful. If there are any questions that you have, or maybe you want to dive deeper on a specific topic, please comment below. I would love to hear your feedback. Tell me what interested you the most. Tell me what you would like to discuss next time. Be sure to like my video, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss the next video that's posted. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day, and I look forward to seeing you next time.